Hello dear friends, I am Michaela. Welcome to my astrology channel Todayenergy. This video will be entirely dedicated to the planet Saturn because on the 5th of June Saturn stations from our earthly perspective as if the planet stops on the sky and turn its direction to go backwards, to go retrograde. Saturn will be retrograding as usually for 4.5 months. That is till the 23rd of October. So this is an important event. In this video we will discuss by order the following topics. First, who is Saturn? Who was he as a god in the Greek and Roman mythology? What does Saturn represent as part of our psyche and as life events when we look at it as where Saturn sits in our natal charts? And also, what do we feel when Saturn is stationed to turn its direction of movement? And also, what can we expect from its retrogradation? At the end of the video, we will discuss what can we expect in our lives if Saturn turns this time right on some of your important planets or angles in your natal chart as a transit, how it will influence you particularly, as well as we will see which degrees of Aquarius Saturn will be going back and forward in this time. So it might trigger 3 times some of your planets and angles. That's also quite significant, I believe. So we will discuss this. So let's start with the mythology about who was Saturn. In Roman mythology, he was the god of time, of abundance, of agriculture, and Romans saw him as the creator of civilizations. So I guess you really need a great organization and discipline to create empires and civilizations, right? And Romans were really good about that. So Saturn was really venerated and respected deity in their pantheon. But before that, the legend about Saturn comes actually from ancient Greece. Greeks call him Kronos, and for them Kronos was mainly the god of time as well as of old age and mortality, death. So talking about Kronos as the significance of time, you know this proverb as good things take time, right? Especially in my native language, Bulgarian, we know very well this saying. Besides that, you know, Saturn or Kronos, he was represented as a man with a sickle and wheat. So another proverb that is very much related to him and to his energy is what you reap, or what you reap what you sow, right? So you get the results of your own actions. By the way, in the Hindu mythology, or rather, let's say in Eastern Indian astrology, Jyotish, the planet Saturn is also the representation of karma, which is exactly that what goes around comes around, but it's all your responsibility in your actions. In astronomy, when we discuss the planet Saturn, you know, from ancient times and even nowadays, Saturn is the furthest of the planets we can see with a naked eye, right, without using any tools. And for ancient people, there were 7 such planets because they counted the sun and the moon as well as planets, right, as celestial bodies that spin around us, around the earth, so how important we were, right, and thus of course creating the cycles and influencing our life. So when we see the sun as the source of warmth, of light, of life, right, very importantly of inspiration at the same time, then no wonder that Saturn is the planet that receives almost no light and almost no heat. So that's why Saturn was seen as something cold, as representative of darkness and of isolation. And of course, if we look at the sun as life and joy, then Saturn will be the contrary, opposite part as harshness and mortality. So everything is in a makes great sense for me personally, logically. Now, the myth about Kronos, you see, he was the son of the god of sky, Uranus, another planet we are familiar with. Now, Uranus, unfortunately, was a very bad ruler in the sense that he was a tyrant. He was very nasty to his own servants and children. And so Kronos, as a brave hero at the very beginning, he raced against his tyrant father, and he punished him. He castrated his father, the sky god. That's how Saturn took his place and became the most important main deity in the pantheon. So, you know, we associate at the very end Saturn with great achievements and great success if we are brave and have dedication to our goals. But as time was passing, there you go, another importance of the concept of time. Saturn turned into a copy, an even worse copy of his father. So he became even more tyrannical, he became very paranoid, very anxious that someone will take his throne, that someone will remove him from power. And even he was told, by the way, according to some legends, by Uranus himself, as a punishment, you see, he was told, you will be deposed by your own child, just like you did with me. So you see, like, karma comes back to people, whatever they do, and to gods apparently as well. And so Saturn, so paranoid. You see, Saturn also rules paranoia, anxiety and fears. And apparently this fear was kind of eating him from within, from inside. You know how it feels, right? And he started eating his own children he was producing with his wife, Rhea. So he managed to eat, I think, 5 of them. And the 6th baby to be born was the famous god Zeus. Zeus, that's the Greek version of him, and the Roman mythology calls him as Jupiter, and he represents the planet Jupiter. So Jupiter, you see, was born really lucky. Jupiter represents huge luck, because instead of being devoured by his own father, Saturn, his mom gave Saturn some stone, wrapped stone, and so he thought it's a baby. He swallowed it, while Rhea escaped to Crete Island, the Greek island of Crete, and gave birth to Zeus there. He was raised by Rhea, but also by other ladies called nymphs, pretty ladies, nice ones. He was raised with milk and honey, as the legend goes. So no wonder Jupiter is such a huge, benevolent, beautiful, lucky, optimistic planet, bringing happiness, because he was raised, even despite this tragic story of his family and father, more specifically, he was raised in the love of mother and other creatures. And he became very generous. Well, at the end of the day, Zeus grew up and he defeated his own father, Kronos, and he liberated his siblings and even married one of his sisters. One of the legends says that Kronos escaped or returned, let's say, he went to Italy, where he became venerated by the Italians, the people who established back then the huge, almighty, powerful Roman Empire, and he basically helped them build this huge civilization, this huge, powerful empire, and also he taught Romans agriculture. That's why he became this rather benevolent and useful god in the Roman mythology. Perhaps you see, perhaps he regretted, atoned for his bad actions so far. By the way, one of the biggest pagan Roman holidays we know about was called Saturnalia. It was performed in late December, and it was associated with feasts, celebrations, when even slaves could relax, and even masters would serve food to the slaves instead of the usual order, you know. And people were exchanging gifts between themselves. So of course Saturnalia was dedicated to Saturn, and that's what Christians borrowed from the Romans, as later became our holiday known as Christmas, like the birth of Jesus Christ, who, astrologically speaking, most probably would have to be Pisces rather than a Capricorn. Anyways, that's open panel for discussions. But my point is that, you see, for Romans, Saturn was a planet that gives you presents, that rewards you, but according to your own honest work and effort that Romans would do throughout the whole year, and finally in December they would be rewarding themselves. Now let's see, what does Saturn mean in our natal charts? Because when we were born, each planet was somewhere in the sky, and it was somewhere in your natal chart, in a sense of, in some of your houses. You know, we have 12 houses of the natal chart. So also, while we discuss it, think about not only where Saturn sits in your, or falls in your natal chart, but also which houses start in Aquarius and in Capricorn, as Saturn is the ruler of these two signs, meaning Saturn is the ruler of these two areas of life, these two houses of your natal chart, which have the cusps in Aquarius and Capricorn. So where he resides, there we are very serious and responsible, meaning towards the topics, the areas of life represented by this natal chart's house. We tend to be quite insecure about these topics though, so that's why we tend to put a lot of effort to excel in them. We might have lots of fears about this life area. We might have been criticized very much by whether parents or teachers or classmates. Someone was most probably in the first halves of our lives was not having faith in us that we can manage well in those life areas. That's why we might have lost hope to become good in them, to master them. But this is the trick. In those areas of life lie also our greatest ambitions. And certainly if we learn patience and work wholeheartedly and relentlessly on these topics, we will have also great, solid, long-lasting achievements, most probably in the second half of our life. The development, mastery and results might come with a delay, but when they do come, and they will come if you keep on working on these topics, you can be really proud of yourself and of these topics, and your achievements will be really sustainable and long-lasting. Now, in these areas of life that Saturn rules, or where he resides in the natal chart, we learn to overcome some obstacles. They don't come easy to us. Like, if we check where Jupiter is in the natal chart, then yes, you have there the help of guardian angels, of the universe, of people, but with Saturn is the opposite. You have to pass challenges and overcome obstacles. You have to be humble, patient, hardworking, dedicated. So yeah, you have to exert some certain stamina and good quality. Because this very Saturn shows where you desire high social status, recognitions, respect by the others. So in this area of life, we really can become a boss, a leader, a teacher. Really depends like about which house we are talking. If it's third house, then you can really become a teacher. Maybe you are having hard time at the beginning in primary school, for example, or in the secondary school even. Maybe teachers give you hard time. They don't believe in your capabilities, in your mind skills. Maybe you yourself at the beginning doubt that you can speak properly, express yourself properly. Maybe you have some troubles with writing and so on, but you don't give up. You study hard, you dedicate a lot of effort to studies in this case, for example, or studying construction of a car, of a vehicle, and then you finally, let's say when you're 40 something, or after your first or second Saturn return, you open up a car repairman saloon, or you start selling expensive cars, right, or become a teacher and so on. Now, let's pay attention to mundane astrology. That astrology studies some world events, economical, social, political happenings in the world. Maybe can predict even some natural disasters and so on. So in mundane astrology, Saturn represents government and politicians, might represent as well police or any people or institution that ensures obedience to the law and order. Saturn can represent high senior management of big companies and corporations. Elderly people, retirement, mortality are the topics of Saturn. Cold weather, energy conservation, market shrinking, economical austerity and recessions. Things either shrink or slow down with influence of Saturn in the world. Constructions, farming and clockmaking as well, and all the people who work in these fields are ruled by Saturn. Engineers, controllers, inspectors, auditors, regulators of any sort, the people who ensure the quality, the diligence, the fairness of work and the good result, because these people can impose, and Saturn as well can impose obviously rules and limitations and regulation. Saturn always means parental figures in our natal chart. Oftentimes Saturn talks about our father, and figures with high social status and with achievements, whom we respect and whom we look up to. And overall, Saturn can mean in public space, in society, older generation and traditions, patriarchy and the status quo, let's say. By the way, here I want to show you some cards. They come from a Symbolon card deck. Those are cards which represent planets and zodiac signs, and oftentimes also their combinations, whether in a natal chart or during a transit. Of course, in my opinion, you can't put all these multi-diverse planes of understanding of each planet and even more so of their combination in one single picture or image. But that's a great try, that's a great attempt, and definitely the creators of this deck, they got the flavor, the main flavor of the planets and the signs. So those can be nice images to meditate on or see as a metaphorical explanation of the energy of the planet. So here you have Saturn as a hermit, old man, clearly. Here we have symbols of death and of time, yeah, hourglass and skull. Saturn is definitely not wasting his time. He's reading a book, so he's preparing, he's getting knowledge, experience, skills, which usually I would say it's the best to have a practical experience, of course, but really depends on the sign, I would say. Yeah, Capricorn would rely on work, effort and practical experience. You see that the colors are dark brown, black. Those are the color palette of Saturn. and we see mountains behind. So this man sits on the very top of maybe the highest peak, the highest mountain. So he achieved a lot, but he's secluded, he's isolated, right? And that's his choice. He doesn't like the hustle and bustle of the modern world and society. And nevertheless, we still see here the image of a crown. So either he was a ruler, maybe he, like the god Kronos, he was main ruler and god, but he suffered something. Maybe he rose too high, he fell from power, he became tyrant, he didn't let go on time, and he was banished and punished, and now he remembers the former glory days. Or this image talks about that, yeah, sometimes with a bit more austerity and effort and dedication and hard work and isolation, probably when you have to study and so on, you actually are creating a solid plan to achieve something big in your life, and nothing less than becoming the boss, becoming the king, the ruler, and build your own empire and leave a legacy behind you. Right now, Saturn is transiting the sign of Aquarius, you know, so this is how the combination of Aquarius and Capricorn, or Saturn and Aquarius, would look like according to the creators of this card deck called Symbolon. That's probably how you agree with me we felt, say, 2020, when there was the heaviest combination on the skies between, there was a conjunction between Saturn and Pluto, which talks about death, which talks about fear. And remember, Saturn is the rules and regulations and restrictions from the government, and its isolation and limitations, so lockdowns. But also Saturn and Uranus were in a constant ongoing square throughout all the year 2021. Now we have a little bit more of a relief, because this is how just Uranus and Jupiter together would feel, what kind of a feeling it would give, right? Now, if you get a bit more depressed with this video about Saturn, dear friends, don't hesitate to go to my video about Jupiter in Aries on this channel, because it will probably lift your mood up for sure. You will feel like this when you listen about Jupiter in Aries. But currently it's about Saturn, so it's about reality check, pragmatism, being realistic but not pessimistic, because those are the tendencies as well. And yes, my point is that later this year in autumn, for the last time, we will have this very tight square between Jupiter, ruler of Aquarius, and Saturn, ancient ruler of Aquarius as well, but nowadays a ruler of Capricorn mostly, right? So once again, we will feel like pushing the speed gas pedal, and as well as the control for brakes, because Saturn is about brakes and no and limitations and so on. So it will feel a bit tough, really. But on the other hand, also we have, for instance, if we combine Venus and Saturn, or Taurian and Capricornian energy, which you know, both their earth energy, so they form a trine on the sky. So actually these two talk to each other very nicely and respect and like each other, Taurus and Capricorn, and in some cases Venus and Saturn as well. So you see on this image, we see a saint from Italy, from the 12th century, 13th century, that was Saint Francis of Assisi. And he was known as, first of all, nobleman. Once again, you see the story of a person who either was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, or let's say achieved some great social status, but then he discovered the vocation, the calling of God, who actually told him to be very modest, moderated, to go to live in the countryside, to work the land, to take care of the animals. Actually Saint Francis of Assisi was one of the first fighters for environmentalist, for ecology, because he really respected plants, herbs, earth. He apparently could talk to animals. And yeah, so but he was really cool, you know. He was not like the Spanish Inquisition, which really this guy is more like representative of Inquisition, because we have here purely Saturnian and Capricornian energy of obey the law, the rules, you know. And when we combine it with religion, it can become pretty tough and strict. But Francis of Assisi, he was like a little bit like a hippie in a sense, we can say. He was very benevolent, obviously friendly, trying to help people find their true path. Of course, we're talking about deep Christianity here for sure, but still, and morals, obviously. Venus and Capricorn is about morals. We will talk about it a little bit later in the video. But yeah, it's about respecting traditions and the earth and all living creatures, and living just a modest, happy life, I would say. So you see, Saturn can be not that bad sometimes either. So let's see next if, and not if, but when Saturn transits some house of your natal chart. So imagine you were born with Saturn in the 4th house, so there were always some limitations and feeling of burden in your home, and maybe your parents were really strict. But right now, currently, Saturn transits, say, your 6th house. So, you know, Saturn spends in one sign by transit 2 years and a half. So in those 2 years and a half, this planet will teach you the lessons of your 6th house, for example. So it depends, like, where is in your chart currently Aquarius. Saturn will be in Aquarius until March 2023. So, and here he will be retrograding. So you will learn a lot of lessons in this area of life. So while Saturn transits particular house of your natal chart, he might delay things there, slow down these topics of life. You might, of course, meet some challenges and obstacles. You might tend to isolate yourself from people. Maybe you will become more picky, more selective, whether it's about job, or if Saturn transits currently your 7th house, you might not be so flirtatious and easily dating random people. You will be really examining the people and kind of testing them, whether they are the ones you can rely on, and so on. You might, on the other hand, feel pushed, controlled, criticized, paternalized by society, by people, by institutions. You might be almost suffocating by rules and some narrowing circumstances, burdens, limitations. And by the way, it depends on your own natal chart. If you have important planets and or most of the planets in air signs, so you like freedom, expansions, communication, and especially with these lockdowns and so on, you might even have started feeling claustrophobia, literally, like hard to breathe. We or other people around us become more uncompromising, principled, disciplined, firm, stern, unapproachable, which of course on the worst case scenario might lead to loneliness and isolation. But on the other hand, we might just, you know, self-discipline is nothing bad at all, especially if you want to achieve something solid, right? We might like to be more traditional, to take more traditional approach to these life topics, look for commitment, stability, long-lasting terms and relationships. If Saturn transits your 6th or 10th house, then we become definitely more ambitious, workaholics. We need social status, we need to grow professionally, we need respect and recognition by others. We can become masters, directors, teachers, business owners. Really, we can achieve great things. On the other hand, Saturn rules negation, saying no. So it's about establishing personal boundaries. Sometimes it's needed for some people who are too soft, too yielding to others. Maybe you have a lot of Piscean energy in your chart and you are like a sponge observing everyone's suffering and complaints. You're like this you know, pillow for cries, for other people's relief emotional on you. So certainly Saturn will teach you to build some boundaries and walls even. You will become more self-reliant, behave like a mature adult, experienced, respected person, because Saturn is about growing up and maturity and older age, right? And sometimes it's not about physical older age, but your own experience. It's important with Saturn transits not to despair, not to lose hope, because it's a bit of a grim, darker planet, right? It's self-doubts, it's doubts in the others. Don't complain, don't overindulge on the other hand. Take just responsibility for yourself, for your life, maybe even for someone else, that would be the case. Be pragmatic, be rational, avoid pessimism and depression. Work patiently and systematically. Definitely it's very important to be strategic, to have a plan. You see, Saturn is quite demanding. You have to choose well. You have to choose quality over quantity, and the essential needs are the most important. Saturn will teach you, and actually teach you, he will just simply eliminate from your life what's not authentic and real and truly important for you. Stay steady, resilient, you know, like this kind of a lighthouse, the rock amidst stormy ocean or sea. Here is always very relevant, all these t-shirts and signs online. Keep calm, and so exactly with Saturn you have to be cool-headed, be reasonable, keep your things together and just keep doing your job no matter what. Just be decisive, right, and cold-headed. If you put your efforts honestly, you will be rewarded with solid, durable, tangible results. Because you know the story about these very lucky people who are winning the lottery or jackpot in some games of luck and chance. Usually Jupiter is the one who helps with this sudden skyfall, you know, of money and luck in your life, which is nothing bad. Of course, it feels good at the beginning, right? But there is statistic that these people, yeah, first there is this boost of, wow, great, I won, oh my God, I have now this $500K, $1,000 or million or whatever. But then, because these people are not prepared, they tend to lose this abundance, lose this windfall, this money very quickly. And then if they start from here, for example, then they have the win, so they hit the sky from happiness, but then they fall way lower. Statistically, it happens unfortunately very often, because they didn't build it with their own efforts, with their own hands, so to say, or mind, right, or brain. So easy comes, easy goes, as they say, but also that brings desperation and depression, unfortunately, while Saturn wants you to build your own empires. Remember, it can be, of course, your home, it can be your family, it can be your dynasty in a sense, it can be your business. For some people, they become great presidents in turmoil, turbulent times for their country, in recessions, in wars, and these people then stay in history, so they leave legacy behind them, right? So Saturn is about legacy. That's how, look at the Roman Empire itself. We all know about it, at least something, right? That Romans left us the roads, aqueducts. They invented so many things regarding law, regarding governmental structures. We still use it nowadays. Architecture, engineering, canalization, waste systems, right? So basically, amazing legacy. This is what Saturn likes and wants. By the way, I'm a big fan of the books series Song of Ice and Fire. Of course, I watched all the TV show Game of Thrones, which started amazingly. Then the last even 2-3 seasons were tough to watch for me. I didn't find logic in them, and yeah, they kind of lost me for sure. But remember, for people who like these books or TV show, remember the House Lannister or any sort of this kind of medieval houses, whether Lancasters, Yorks, Tudors, and so on. Yes, they had babies, yes, they had children, but maybe they didn't pay so much this attention like towards the personality of each of their children, like Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. He had these 3 children. He hated Tyrion Lannister because he was different physically from the others, right? Nevertheless, Tywin Lannister kind of protected his children, his family, because for him, Lannister house to succeed, to procreate, to live through centuries was the ultimate goal of his life. That would be his achievement, right? So he was a tyrannical father. Even the daughter didn't love him at the end because he wanted to marry her to people she didn't want to marry, Cersei. Nevertheless, so people feared him. He was very like Saturnian person, very cautious, very patient, smart, wise, and achieving things, working for himself and for his family and legacy. And now you know that we are expecting, I believe in maybe July, the release of the prequel. It's called House of the Dragon, right? And you can see the trailer in YouTube already online. And there is this quote in the trailer: "Mortal life is nothing without a pursuit of legacy." So this TV show will be focused on the Targaryens, apparently. But you see, even the Targaryens valued more than one personality, than one life, the whole legacy of the whole family in this case, and of course the empire they built. Again, right now Saturn is in Aquarius. Aquarius is a freedom-loving, progressive sign. It's about society, people, everyone. So with Aquarian energy, we should not be egoistical, egocentrical. Of course, now we have these energies of Jupiter, of Mars in Aries, which is all about like me, and my will and my desires. That's all right. We have to have some kind of a balance, right? But even Mars feels great in Capricorn, in the sign of Saturn. Even Mars, who is like the impulsive, brave soldier ready always to jump into fight, he needs a strategy, he needs a goal to achieve, right? He needs a plan, he needs a general to push him forward for something decent and important. And yeah, you see now, like you know, I live in Bulgaria, in Europe, and now with all this terrible war and invasion of Russia in Ukraine, European Union decided to be solidarity with suffering Ukrainian people, and limits the trade with Russia, and that is limit buying natural resources for heating, like gas, like petrol, from Russia, which was before that the main seller and exporter of these goods for Europe, at least I can speak. I don't know about the rest of the world. But here is the thing: people are afraid that we might be without heating in the winter, that there might be shortages, yeah, less of gas, less of natural fuels. But here principles and being solidar with the ones who suffer, so thinking about the common good of the humanity overall, about the human rights and freedom in this case, it's more important than whether I will be feeling more cold this winter at home, yeah? So maybe I'll dress better, or there will be a regime or something like this, like saving on gas or electricity. We will see really. But this is very Saturnian topic, and it's very much about Saturn in Aquarius. the common good is important, the progress is important, but we don't jump on the progress like this, because we might fall into the abyss. So with Saturn, we work hard for the progress, we are diligent, we are systematic. Very important to be pragmatic, systematic, to be not led by emotions, but to be led by principles. And sometimes, you know, yeah, Aquarius is friendly and social and about novelties and futuristic, freedom loving and so on, but it's a fixed sign, so it can be extremely stubborn and very principled, right? So stubborn on his principles, and Saturn is here working on that and enhancing this. So Saturn is ascetic, hermit, frugal, minimalist, if we talk about style. Saturn rewards us according to our own merits. That's very important. And the formula for Saturnian type of success is patience plus persistency. We must acknowledge that. Now, Saturn moves very slowly, okay? It's called a social planet together with Jupiter. Then we have three more, even more distant planets, which we don't see with the naked eye. They were discovered later: Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Unlike Mercury, Saturn is not going so often retrograde. Saturn is retrograde about 38% of the whole time of its movement, so 4.5 months per year. So his retrogradation is quite important, I would say. And before turning the direction of movement, there is a period in which he is as if not moving at all. And if with Mercury, that's like 1 day, 2 days maximum. With Saturn, it's like, I would say, 5-6 days before the date of the stopping and 5-6 days after the date of the stopping. So my point is here that Saturn will be stationed from 1st to 11th of June this year. So kind of when the planet, especially such a influential social planet, is stationed, like all the attention of the universe is on this planet, on his energies, on what Saturn wants, which we were discussing until now, right? So basically from 1st to 11th of June, if Saturn is somehow prominent in your own chart, that is, if it's, let's say, conjuncting the ascendant or conjuncting the medium Colli, the MC, the cusp of your 10th house, or resides in one of your 4 most important cardinal houses of your natal chart, 1st, 4th, 7th and 10th. If Saturn conjuncts your sun or your moon, then of course you are more Saturnian person. If you have more planets in Capricorn or even in Aquarius possibly. So yeah, now you, or not only now, every year you feel Saturnian stations, whether to go retrograde or direct. So in this case, we might feel time slows down, time is very sticky, like very heavy, very physical, because Saturn is about physicalities. If Jupiter is about the spirit, if Uranus and Mercury are about the mind and the concepts and about the ideas, Saturn and Venus are very much about what I can touch, what I can smell, especially with Saturn, what I can protect myself with, right? What I feel safe and secure with, what I can show off to gain some status and recognition. So in this case, time gets really tangible and slow. We might feel a bit lonely, physically, emotionally, or lonely in a sense of we are one-on-one with our responsibilities, with the burdens in life, whether you take care of a child or of a parent or of a doggy, or you are working on your garden. Yeah, it's like, work and work, kind of the feeling would be possibly like this while Saturn is stationed at the beginning of June, because as if we're carrying our rock or just climbing towards our peak, which we want to climb, you know. So there might be this sense of hopelessness, powerlessness, doubting yourself, the people, the circumstances, your own goals. Or on the other hand, we might feel super decided to endure and to succeed. Here, As I said, the universe is like all about Saturnian topics, right? And remember, the sign of Capricorn, it's like this goat. I know it's with some kind of a mermaid tail, but usually we associate Capricorn visually with mountain goats, and they are fearless of heights, and they climb very high the mountains, right? So you have to think now, which is your Everest, the peak Everest? What do you want to achieve in life? The climb might be slow and hard, but it will bring you eternal glory once you are up there. And yes, it might take time now, this 4 months and a half, while Mercury goes retrograde. Actually, while he's retrograde, there might be some reassessment, restructuring of topics of the house through which it goes retrograde, or the houses he rules in your chart, which of course now Aquarius is one same house, right? But also the previous one, Capricorn, most probably. What do we want to achieve there? If not, what holds us back? Are there some inner fears and insecurities, or this inner voice in your head of your teacher from primary school that you will never be good at that? Or maybe your parents' criticism or paternalizing that don't do it, you will break this or that, right? Those are all voices from the past, voices from authority figures. But now you have to become your own authority. You have to become self-reliant. Why you have some fears and insecurity? Who controls you? Do you have some strong boundaries? Do you have some good discipline? Do you need to build some solid foundations? Maybe you build something which is rather shaky, you're not happy with it, and such a house, a building, whatever, cannot stand the test of time with this. So Saturn won't be happy. So sometimes during the retrogradation, we have to destroy the things completely to the bottom, to the ground, so we can erect them from the very scratch, build the basement, build the first floor, and most importantly, build the skeleton, right? Because Saturn, he rules bones, structures, walls, the skeleton in our body, and the scaffold or what holds all the construction. So if there is an earthquake by Uranus, for instance, Uranus likes to destroy stuff, but again, Uranus destroys only the stuff that you did not build properly and correctly and that are not authentic for yourself, whether it's relationship or job or the country where you live. Saturn wants you to make plans. Let's say if it's transiting your 10th house, so business plans, fight your own limitations, overcome obstacles, make a structure, restructure something. Maybe if it's in your 7th house, you have to reassess what kind of a partner do you really want, what holds you back from having the desired partnership. Maybe even you will have to work with a therapist or psychologist if you have some internal blocks that stop you from a partnership. Or on the other hand, maybe your partner lives abroad and there is some distance between you, or your partner is now in a situation that they look for a job or something like this, because most probably if Saturn transits your 7th house, then you are Leo rising, so your ruler is the sun, but your partner's ruler is Saturn. So now they go within, right? Saturn retrograde. They have this need to reassess their own life, their own foundations, what they have achieved so far, what they dream and aspire for, right? And what they can do physically for this. Who will feel the most stationing of Saturn and then the retrogradation? Well, of course, Capricorn and Aquarius risings, because that's your chart ruler. People with Sun and even Moon in Capricorn and Aquarius, because Saturn is still the dispositor, he's still the ruler of your Sun and Moon. It's kind of, imagine Sun and Moon are in a guest house ruled by Saturn. So they feel everything that happens with Saturn in a transit, for instance, as well as people with angles, points, house cusps, planets between, I would say between 22nd and 28th degree of Aquarius the most, as well as Leos, and also between same degrees of Scorpio and Taurus. Scorpio and Taurus, Saturn will square your points, angles, and planets, which means square is always a aspect of tension. Square provokes you to make some changes, adjustments, actions, but it might be uncomfortable, but still you will want to overcome blockages and obstacles. Scorps and Taurus, while I would say Aquarius and Leos will be more about maturation, growing up, taking responsibility, rethinking everything that I described before, rethinking your foundations, your boundaries, your goals, build strategies. For Leos, because it will be kind of an opposition, and opposition is always about some kind of relationship, so there might be conflicts. You might need to withstand your ground, hold your ground, fight for your ideals, principles, and so on. You might be fed up of others' control and limitations. So yeah, depends what's Uranus doing in your chart and so on. Now Saturn stations at 25th degree and 15 minutes of Aquarius goes back to 18 degrees of Aquarius. So in October, Saturn will station at 18 degrees. So the people who have planets, points around, I would say, 16 to 20 degrees of Aquarius, then you will feel everything we talk about now mostly in October this year. And by the way, because Saturn was already there in February this year, so you will have this déjà vu in October about February. Maybe you didn't learn your lesson back then, so Saturn came back to teach you once again. Maybe you started something back then, but it was like full of doubts and obstacles and challenges, so now you have the chance to readjust it, and then you will have this second hit from Saturn in October. While people who now have these triggers around 25th degree of fixed signs, well, Saturn will be back again here in January 2023. So don't worry if you don't understand or don't feel it or don't learn your lessons now. It can really play out in several manners, several ways. Then just be prepared then that in January 2023, the topics of these angles and points and planets in your chart will be once again reignited or retouched by Saturn in January next year. And of course, for people with planets, points between 18th to 25th degree of fixed sign, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, you will be triggered 3 times by Saturn. I would say give it all this year, from February this year to February 2023. That's kind of the slow influence and lessons of Saturn. You will need to make some reality checks, overcoming your own doubts and fears, criticism and controls, taking responsibility for your life and your projects, growing up and becoming a realist about things, pragmatic, and of course achieving. Aspire to some bigger achievements in life. And now, final part of our video, let's see what will happen particularly with few words, just kind of possibilities. If Saturn touches, let's say, or triggers your Sun, you know that Sun is about health, vitality, career, ambitions, willpower, and Saturn represents father and husband figures in life. So of course, together with Saturn, we might talk about special attention and focus seriously on your health. Most specifically, Saturn is about bones, teeth, hair, skin, tendons, so you might feel a bit tired, fatigue, and so on. Saturn unfortunately might bring some doses of self-doubt, depression, criticism, or some kind of control from these male figures in your life. Definitely you will be more serious, mature, responsible. Maybe you'll feel less passion and inspiration, more things to do because of duties, because you need to be patient and people need you maybe to kind of be the grown-up, the adult, the leader, and so on. Maybe you become a parent, maybe there is a career growth, a raise, maybe you're building something of your own you can be proud of. Maybe it's increasing in your social status, respect by the people, but at the same time this is a heavy responsibility always, right? If you become the teacher, the manager, then suddenly people rely on you. So you cannot be just foolish and childish anymore. And it's important to always set yourself realistic goals for this time period. And of course, patiently, diligently, systematically achieve them. If your moon is triggered by this Saturn stationing and retrogradation, well, moon is emotions, feeling of security and happiness, your home, your mother or elderly women in your life, how you nourish others and yourself, yeah, your food. So here Saturn is limitations, shrinking, austerity. So maybe you will be on a diet, maybe you will be losing some weight. Less emotions, but I must warn you not to suppress your emotions, please. Maybe more self-control, maybe more self-discipline, maybe develop this feeling of self-sufficiency, stoicism, skepticism. Maybe you can practice some radical acceptance, radical forgiveness, just to be relieved by nagging negative emotions. Unfortunately, when Saturn is on our moon, like in my case last year, Saturn rolled 3 times on my Aquarian moon, which needs to breathe, which needs air, right? And also check what in your chart rule, like when we talk about Sun, Moon and other planets, you see I'm discussing here their traditional archetypal meaning, father, mother and so on, right? But in my chart, the moon rules my 12th house, because the cusp of my 12th house is in Cancer. The ruler of Cancer is the moon. So in my case, I had to fight subconscious demons and fears, depression. I had panic attacks. I had lack of breath, lack of air. I had narrowing of my living space, everything. I mean, in my case, Saturn played out on the fullest, really. But I'm born during the night, so Saturn is kind of, according to the ancient people, is the most malefic planet in my chart. But I don't want to scare you. I want you to be practical and theoretical, like Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius, like this scientist who is making experiments. So may your life be an experiment in this transit. So don't go into tantrums or fears, depression and so on. Maybe yes, you will have more time alone on your own, detached, a bit more lonely. There might be some fears. Maybe you will need to care for elderly women, or you will suffer some kind of criticism and parenting from them. Maybe in a positive sense, maybe you are currently building your home, working on your property, maybe repairments or really construction. Maybe there is now, that's why there is some kind of smaller living space for you as well, like it was for me. By the way, because, well, maybe because Moon ruled my 12th house, rules my 12th house, I quit smoking. I was smoking many years, and finally with this transit of Saturn, it was like enough is enough. Take serious care of your well-being, of your health. Let's stop smoking. Of course, it was like pushed. I didn't do it willingly with pleasure, but it was because of coronavirus and fears and suffocations and so on. But those are the instruments of Saturn the Reaper, you know. But at the end, it's for your own good. You become more responsible in this case to your health, to your home, to your family, to your emotions. Maybe you are longing security and traditions about family, marriage, home and so on. You make your home a bit more secluded or a bit more like hermetic in a sense, isolated, or you have more practical taste now, spending less on the very essentials. So yeah, quitting bad habits, maybe you're becoming now a parent, a mom, a house property owner, maybe you're building your family. So it's not easy the first time, right? So you have to learn, and you learn through your own attempts and falls and attempts. Just don't give up, okay? Just be persistent. Mercury, if Mercury is triggered by this Saturn stationing or retrogradation, Mercury is your mind, is your verbal skill, writing skills, immediate environment, your neighborhood, friends, neighbors, your studies, your speech, your vehicle as well, your siblings. So of course there might be, Saturn might introduce some insecurities about, do I speak good, do I express myself properly? Let me just try to move a little bit the camera. All right. Now, better. Am I respected when I talk, when I write? But in the positive sense, Saturn is like, come on, finally publish this book. You can do it. You can achieve glory and recognition, but you have to put effort. Maybe you will be writing day and night, you know, and maybe you wrote already the initial part of your thesis, or you prepare a blog, but now you're like rethinking, reassessing, do I want the structure to be this way, maybe I should some kind of restructure it, right? Avoid negative thinking, obviously self-doubts, depression. Maybe now you start some long serious studies, maybe you start studying medicine or psychology. It's like, you know, I don't know, 8 years or more. Maybe you become a teacher, a writer, publisher, and so on. You need to take care seriously about your vehicles, maybe taking care of your community, relatives, siblings, responsible blogging, trading, everything that is mercurial as business, for example. Saturn here can give you great achievements. Or delays. Maybe you're promoting, maybe you're launching promotional campaigns. Well, there might be some obstacles and delays, or you might meet serious investors, for example. Slow, careful driving, discussion of serious topics, Saturnian topics. Maybe you want to blog, so then you will be blogging about the health of the bones or about construction nowadays, the government. Maybe you become a journalist and you go to the parliament to interview the parliament members. What else? Long-term plans. Yeah, Mercury is about planning, so here you have to be serious and thinking big and long-term. Quality, not quantity, is the more important in regards of friendships, travel, studies, and all mercurial topics, all right? Because Mercury is very social, and Saturn can limit your social activities for a while and make you sit home and write, for instance, or concentrate on something more. If Venus is triggered by this Saturnian transit, Venus is beauty, love, friendships, our taste, pleasures in life, and money, of course. So you might be interested in older, serious partners with status, with life experience. Traditional values might be more on your taste now. Traditional, long-lasting commitments and relationships. Maybe you will be working really honestly and hardly on making money. You will be prudently shopping, practical style, kind of a bit frugal in your spendings, only for the essentials. Not about this beautiful dress. Now, for example, you'll decide that you need a dishwasher or a vacuum cleaner. So you will be researching, especially with Mercury, is very careful, deep research with Saturn, right? And then finally maybe you will take it on credit or loan or something like this. Ascetic life, minimalistic style, old-fashioned taste, only the basics, only the essential needs are important now. In relationships, friendships, there might be separations if you don't feel the support of these people, if you don't feel the trust that you can rely on them or they can rely on you, then they exit your life. On the other hand, especially even if Jupiter is involved, there might be weddings, marriages. Less social life, really. Remember, with Saturn, less is more. So less superficiality, less flirts, more like traditional approach, maybe long dating and so on. Only the real deal with Saturn. Remember about relationship and friendships. Of course, one might feel a bit more lonely during this transit, especially because Venus likes pleasure, sensuality, spoil yourself or others. And here Saturn says no to this. No spoiling, no overindulging. Be practical, care practically about people. On the good hand, that's no sugar. Yeah, because Venus is like munching, like good dinners, pizzas, cookies, and so on, sweet things. So Saturn says no to sweet things. You might be on diet really and take care carefully of your body. Maybe like more cold, more serious partners, or some kind of long distance relationship, or some kind of obstacles to overcome to your relationships, or on the other hand, getting married, getting engaged, yeah, making it more serious. If Venus is about arts and inspiration, maybe it's gonna be a bit more like hitting the wall and not be so inspired constantly, I admit. But also it can be more about craftsmanship, applied arts, maybe design of furniture, making something from wood, making some plastics, some sculptures from marble or from some stone, yeah, like this kind of solid Saturnian materials. And good for architecture, basically. And very importantly, Venus is our self-esteem. Yes, on one hand, Saturn might put it to the ground. Like you might meet people who are criticizing your style, your beauty. Really, please don't fall for their harsh words. This is the thing. You need to build your own inner pillar, right? Like inner core that will not allow you to bend no matter what the opinion around you, surrounding you. You have to have your internal, serious, strict value system. Really also Saturn is about traditional values like honesty, hard work, respect, family, parents, respect for the elderly, for the past generations, for achievements and so on, for the success. So also, but self-esteem, you have to respect, like build your solid, strong, unshakable, mature sense of self-worth. Know what you have achieved and what you deserve and what you want. Yeah, it's like being, not being shy, but also, of course, not being pushy. No, not at all. Actually, Saturn can give you more of this kind of closed and introversion and shyness because of self-doubt. So try to avoid this, but be very self-secured, right? That you know what you achieved, you can show it to the world, you know what you want, you deserve it, and that's it. And be with high moral standards and principles. If Mars is triggered by Saturn, that might be a little bit tough one or not, depends on your Mars. Mars is energy, ambition, motivation, aggression, sexual drive and desires. So, of course, Saturn brings this cool down of all this fire within you. You might meet walls and obstacles and criticism, especially for your energy, for your actions. There might be constantly like hit the wall, like don't be so quick, don't be so rushed, don't be so hot-headed, yeah, by the others saying it. Maybe you'll feel less energy and enthusiasm and passion, but on the other hand, it might teach you more moderation, being more realistic with your ambitions and with your goals. Don't doubt your capabilities and your goals. Don't get discouraged by the criticism and obstacles. Don't be frustrated if things go a bit slowly. Build strategies. Saturn in Mars is like the general, the strategist, the engineer, because if Mars is just like the soldier who goes and does what he thinks is best, but then he easily quits because he might be impatient, he might be over like easily combusted. So Saturn give endurance here. You need this kind of think like a general, think like the engineer to build something proper and solid. Get some patience really. Don't be impulsive, but disciplined. Very necessarily here to work with anger management. Don't bottle up your anger. because Saturn can be like a rock, which is on the top of your vitality and anger overall. So it might be very bad if it's boiling from within. So healthy expression of anger, impulses, desires, smart problem solving. That's really good combination, Mars and Saturn, for problem solving, persistency, and be consistent in what you desire, what you need, what you want to achieve. Remember that Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars likes being in Capricorn. If your Mars is more, because Mars rules Aries and Scorpio as well. Arian Mars can benefit from Saturn because it's more discipline and dedication to the cause and strategies and plan what you want to achieve, right? Like step by step. Mars, which has more flavor of Scorpio, is a bit more patient. It's a bit more hidden. It's about revenge. It's a bit about waiting the proper opportunity. It's quite strategical already. So again, not a bad combination, but Saturn might bring a bit more gloomy thoughts and so on. So again, just avoid depression. Sport is great here. Do regular exercises. Remember, Saturn wants persistency, not once, not twice, but every week, every Tuesday, which is a day of Mars, or every Saturday, which is the day of Saturn. Jupiter, wow, if you have Saturn triggering your Jupiter, that's an interesting one, because they're kind of a bit antagonists, you know, because you already know what is Saturn about, but Jupiter is the opposite. It's cheerful, expansive, optimistic. It has big goals, big dreams, grandiose ideas. It's a bit over-exaggerating. It's a bit chaotic. In a positive sense, Jupiter is the meaning of life, is our long-term perspective, vision for development for the future. It's our pride, it's our curiosity, right? But only with Jupiter we can't achieve much, because he can throw at us from time to time some good opportunities, but we need the stamina to actually catch it and convert it into something long-lasting and solid, right? Our own legacy, our own empire. So yeah, on one hand, Saturn can suppress the growth and the optimism of Jupiter. So again, moodiness, depression, not sure if my goals are realistic, am I too dreamy, and so on. Self-doubts, doubts in the meaning of life, in your knowledge. Jupiter is like what you are sure about, your opinions, your faith, your belief. So either Saturn can bring like, should we still believe in this, like skepticism. On the other hand, it can bring crystallization and solidification of your faith. You can become like this Inquisition person. Don't, please. Don't accuse others, for instance. There might be like a bit, if Jupiter is the party, then Saturn is like the party pooper. So it's like, don't fall into this trap of beating yourself up because you partied too much, because you procrastinated, because you hope so badly for something but don't do much, right? Because Saturn can come and be like patronizing and how it's called, like provoking remorses in you, in a sense. So feeling of guilt. Yeah, Saturn is very good with guilt, so don't do that. You might meet some obstacles on the way of growth and development, stagnation, shrinking, of social life as well, of traveling, maybe impossibility to travel so much. But yeah, Jupiter can be like this inflated balloon, while Saturn gives this reality check. Saturn wants you to build really what you want to achieve, make it material, physical, tangible. It actually can be a great combination. Think about it. The vision and the dreams and hopes and knowledge of Jupiter, and the will and effort of Saturn. If Jupiter is the architect, Saturn is the engineer and the real builder. Right? If Jupiter is the sketch of what you want to build yourself, then Saturn comes with the real bricks, with the real material, and saying, okay, this week we will do the basement, next week the first floor, then the windows, and so on, right? So it's great having a plan. Don't give up, work hard for your goals. Jupiter and Saturn, you can become a great teacher, writer, publisher, expert in your field, a priest even, achiever, a politician, a famous star. Like celebrity, right? This is all that Jupiter rules, and you will know your worth, again, like with Venus. You will have great self-worth because you can show and prove, this is what I built, this is what I achieved, that's my portfolio, for example. So no one can shake the trust in yourself and in your principles and moral code, right? You have to have decent morals, honesty, responsibilities. Don't cut corners. Don't be tricky. Don't try to outsmart the system. Not to feel guilty and not to be punished by Saturn. Have a responsible fun if you can. And last but not least, for women, Jupiter represents husband, and with Saturn it can be really solid, long-lasting marriage based on common shared values. So great. And last but not least, if you have Saturn in this degree, so then you are experiencing your Saturn return. Maybe you are between 28 and 31 years old. That's a really first milestone in life, pivotal point in life. Basically, you can put a poster, like people when they celebrate, they put happy birthday. For you, you can put welcome adulthood, welcome real life, welcome responsibilities. You remember that for Indian people, Saturn is the planet, the Lord, Guru of karma. It's not like paying back, but working out. If you had too much party last week, then this week you might work double shift, for example, right? This is also Saturn in 6th house. So karma is here to kind of evaluate what you have done the first 30 or 28 or 31 years of your life. Now, no one expects you to be just a super mega great disciplined kid and so on, because it's really your young years. It's supposed to be for experience, for trial and attempts. But if you have been constantly just relying on teachers, on family, on parents, on government, just getting constantly spoiling and support from them, then it might be a bit tougher Saturn return for you. When Saturn gets back to the same degree where it was when you were born. If you were childish, irresponsible, now of course you are facing the reality, like life, work, family, mortgage, children, maybe living abroad, chasing your dream. You see, it's nothing bad. Yeah, it's great to become a parent. It's great to start a couple's married life, take a mortgage, be responsible of your own property and your own decisions and so on. But yeah, it's a responsibility for yourself and maybe even for someone else. So it might be like suddenly having like a cold shower, you know. It's important again to learn to be self-reliant, self-sufficient adult person, find your true meaning in life, what career you want to build, what big achievements you want to reach. On the other hand, maybe that's the first reward time from Saturn. There you go. Maybe you were dating for a long time. Now you are marrying your high school sweetheart. Finally, maybe you achieve your dream to get your first property and you become truly independent. Well, congratulations. There you go. Saturn is reaping what you sow, right? Superficial things and people get out of your life. I experienced during my Saturn return, it was like a full bucket. I got divorced. I stayed alone in a foreign country. I started for the first time paying my own rent, my own bills, my own taxes. I became a freelancer. So suddenly it was like different me. Of course, I got some gray hairs as well, because it was so much responsibility and I was worried, but I managed to prove myself that I'm pretty strong, brave, courageous person. I deserve respect. I can learn things quickly. I can be dedicated. I can be successful in a foreign land, in a field that it's kind of not many locals even know about it, because I was a historical and cultural tourist guide. So yeah, Saturn is in my 5th house of business, by the way. Well, children, I could have children, right? But apparently with my ex-husband, we were not meant to create our own family, home, children. So Saturn came and organized very well my life, and this person was out of my life. And it wasn't family and kids, but it was profession and career as a freelancer, as a kind of self, I don't know, own business in a sense, right? So it can play out in a very different ways, but at the end it makes you stronger, really. You have to show yourself on the first place and others your willpower and your self-worth. Saturn return, because it's like Saturn, any conjunction, in this case Saturn, is like a new moon. And remember, on new moon we are sowing the seeds, right? And then every 7 years, in this case, because the whole cycle is like 29, 30 years of Saturn until its next return when you're like 50 something. I'm bad with mathematics, sorry. And so now you are planting something. After 7 years, there will be a Saturn square your Saturn, so it will be a crisis time. You will have to do some actions, readjustments. Then it's gonna be the opposition, which will be like a full moon. So Saturn will again reward you for your efforts and maybe take something from your life which is not belonging, let's say, to your life, and it's too superficial and not essential and necessary. And there will be challenges again. So yeah, every 7 years, welcome Saturn to rearrange and restructure my life, right? And maybe destroy something that wasn't meant to grow as a solid and long-lasting term. So my friends, if you want to listen about what happens when Saturn transits your this and that house at the moment, then just please watch my videos for June forecasts. There are 12 videos for each separate zodiac sign. So if you are Leo rising, sun or moon, then play yourself the video about June forecast for Leos. And then there is a chunk dedicated to Saturn now stationing and then retrograding for 4 months and a half your 7th house, and so on. You can check according to your rising sign is the most accurate information because it's based on the division of the houses in the natal chart, but also it might influence how you feel according to your moon sign and play out also according to your sun sign. Thank you so much, dear friends, for watching, listening, liking, sharing my videos, for subscribing for my channel, which really helps me grow as a specialist in this field which I chose now. And may you have a blessed and successful and rewarding stationing and retrograde Saturn period. See you soon. Bye.